Hi everyone, it's Kristen Redmond, and today we're going to go over those planetary aspects surrounding us and affecting us for this upcoming week of July 24th through the 30th. Technically, we're going to have a July 23rd through the 30th because we're going to include today in the amazing, beautiful Leo new moon that's just filling the, well, I guess empty skies tonight because there is no moon out there. And a new moon, that's when our sun and our moon align in that beautiful universe out there. And in that process, the moon eclipses the sun, and we don't see it. We don't see it. Well, actually, it's the other way around. The sun eclipses the moon, and then we don't see it out there, right, in the skies. And that happens once a month. And in that time frame, it's always known that that's when we're supposed to have our greatest amount of faith, that things are going to be happening, and changes will happen, and blessings will come in that full moon when the moon is fully illuminated 2 weeks from now. Represents, of course, being strong and having that faith. And that's always the hardest part in anything, right? Is believing that there's going to be light at the end of that darkness and in that tunnel, right? So with it, new moons carry the promise of new beginnings. It's when we plant our seeds for change and shift to happen. And this is a very, very powerful time for us to be sending those intentions into the universe. Any new moon is going to be, but let me tell you why this one's even more so. Because this is the beginning of the eclipse cycle that we have happening in Leo that's going to be going over the next 3 weeks. Eclipses in astrology represent major new beginnings. This is where the powerful shifts happen. You've been feeling the shaking in the foundation, the things underfoot that have been happening since September of last year. And then these eclipse cycles that happen are trying to push us into greater areas where we can be our true authentic self, where we can live in our purpose, where we can share our true gifts and really live in that mission and purpose that God's put us here to do, our special, unique purpose, letting our true light shine, right? And with that comes a lot of shifting and changing, and we've really started to feel that starting in September of last year. And then again, as the eclipse cycle for 2017 began in February of this year, the universe sent you a major wake-up call in that time frame saying, this is what needs to change so you can be more true to who you are now, my lovely human being down there on planet Earth. Not who you were 10 years ago or 5 years from now or even 2 years ago. There's a lot of shift in this universe where the vibration is raising on planet Earth, and we all need to start living in what our exact purpose is and what we're here to do, right? And maybe for some people it's shifting and change of relationship. Maybe it's career. Maybe it's their friendships, their networks, what it is they're here, whatever it is, you know, the universe is really pushing you to an area where you can be happier. And in this new moon that happens tonight, it really comes into focus. It starts coming into focus. And last week really triggered some things within us that say, wow, this does not make me happy. And it wasn't just a matter of what doesn't make you happy. It was a matter of, I need to stand up for myself. I really need to stand up for myself here, because Leo is ruled by the lion. The lion represents courage. The lion is very focused on what it is it needs to do for its own job, right? Lions are confident. Lions trust and believe in their skills and what they can do and how they provide. And they will fight when they need to make sure that that stays true to who they are, right? And that's exactly what started getting called into question last week, right? People stepping on your boundaries, people pushing you, people pushing on that heart center of yours and saying, let me see how much I can push you and get you to try to do things that I should be doing myself. This new moon calls us to take responsibility for ourselves, for our actions. And sometimes it's very difficult for other people. Sometimes this is a really karmic lesson that's being learned for some folks, but for other people that are going through this as well, it's a chance for the scales to get tipped in their favor, right? So they don't have to work as hard, right? Maybe it's time for some other people to start picking up that slack and doing what's needed, so that you get what's due. No matter what, these eclipses that are coming up in the next couple of weeks are trying so hard to bring you something that makes you happy. These shifts have already started, right? It's not like some magical event's going to happen in the next 2 weeks, and maybe for some of you it will, but it's already started to, whether it's moving location, maybe some shifting and changings happen for your children going off to college, or changing, you've retired and you're or you're taking a new job, whatever it is, there's a new horizon that's out there for you. And over the next couple of weeks, we're getting there. But this week, there's a little bit of those growing pains that are happening. I had a lot of clients contact me last week for readings because there was so much energy in the sky pushing them to let that inner lion out, to let that anger out, to set those boundaries and to say, this is not cool, man. You can't do this anymore to me because I don't want to deal with this. It was meant to happen, right? And that energy is also kind of carrying through this week because remember, we're immediately starting this week off with a new moon. It's about new beginnings. It's about taking responsibility. It's about finding that inner strength. And it's reminiscent of what started back in February when that universe was like, wake up, this is what needs to change. It's all coming into the focus this week. And so Monday, we also start out with Venus in a once a year opposition with the planet Saturn. Saturn, by golly, is a restrictive little bugger. It is the planet of karma. It's the planet of lessons. And when it goes into such an opposing force with the planet of the heart, that's why I got my love shirt on, right? The heart center. When it squares off with that heart center, Venus, it affects our money and it affects our love, right? That give and take balance that we all have gets called into question this week. Starts out the week. Where do I set my boundaries with either of those? And we learn lessons as a result, right? So if you're spending too much, maybe it's coming back to bite you this week. If you're giving too much out of your heart center, it's coming back this week, right? Because then you're going to realize where you're getting stepped on or taken advantage of, or if you're not giving enough out of your heart center, that's going to come back and you get an earful from the person that you're with as to how you don't meet their needs. Whatever it is, these new beginnings are shifting and changing for everybody in a way, and it starts out this week as Venus and Saturn square off in the skies, right? Sobering influence it is, right? But it's also a good chance, right, for us to really start making solid strides to our work. Okay, let's look at it from a positive aspect here, how to utilize this energy in a good way. Venus is how we make our money. It's how we produce what we need to in this lifetime. Okay, you got the planet of hard work on the other side of it. As long as you're working hard, it's going to produce some good results for you in terms of money. Okay, but that also can go with love as well. Keep that in mind. So that starts out the week. Then on Tuesday, we've got Mercury moving into the sign of Virgo. And man, Virgo is happy when Mercury comes home because Mercury rules that sign. Virgo is an earth sign, okay, but it's ruled by a thought-oriented air planet, which is interesting. But when Mercury moves into the sign, it's all about analyzing the tangible reality that's around you. It's about looking and thinking, how do I work? What do I need to do to make my money? How do I make my money? You go through things with a fine-tooth comb and you start to you start to really analyze, how is it that I do this? How can I do this better? It's about the physical body as well. So this is a time when we really start to look at how we take care of ourselves, where our diet's at, where our exercise is at, what we need to do to better take care of this vessel that God sent us here to live out our purpose and do what we need to do in this lifetime, right? Can't do a lot when your body's all jacked up, right? So the universe is going to call that into focus this week too and shine a light on that, right? And what's interesting too is that we're rapidly approaching when Mercury goes into its third retrograde for the year. That's going to happen August 12th. When Mercury retrogrades, happens 3 weeks out of the year, and as the planet of thought retrogrades, our minds get to kind of go offline a little bit too. It's not so much about thinking, it's about going within and taking that time to really isolate ourselves and really go within and listen to what our inner nudgings are telling us. In that process, though, as it retrogrades, it's going backwards in the sign, and we are going to find that Mercury, where it's normally only 3 weeks in a sign, it is going to be in Virgo pretty much until October. That's a really long time for a planet that's always used to things going, going, going. And so with that, I feel we might find delays. I feel that we might find areas where that when we're taking the time to analyze, because that's what Mercury likes to do when it's in Virgo, that we may slow ourselves down and that this is a time when we can really focus on what's needed to make these changes that are coming, right? Especially in terms of the body or work. Great opportunity for that to happen. And we really focus on the details of everything in life, right? Things that we didn't really, we looked at the broader picture. Now we're starting to hone in on the areas that are really vital for that area, right? Fine-tooth comb time, that's what it is. And another thing that we have this week that's happening that really lends to this energy of craziness and pushing us to really find that inner lion, that inner warrior, that inner self that's like, by golly, I need to stand up and say, this is what I'm responsible for, this is what you're responsible for, is when the sun, that Leo sun, remember, that's focused on what it needs, aligns with Mars. Mars is a very, very self-focused planet as well, and it will fight for what it is it needs. Now, the Sun and Mars align once a year as well, so we got a lot of once-a-year things that are happening this week that are really trying to effectively set boundaries and parameters, but it's also trying to push us. It's almost trying to get us angry, so we get these things done that we really need to. So this is a week of getting things done. Thing you might want to look out for is you're focused on what it is you need, and with Mars aligning with that Sun, you may push a little bit too hard to get those things done, and you may find yourself speeding along too much in that process, especially since Mercury is transiting out of Leo. Watch out for accidents. Watch out for going a little too fast there, Casey Jones. Better watch your speed, right? Pay attention, right? Let's look at the details and pay attention to that. So before I get started on my video, speaking of those things, I'm going to double check on my little guy on his bike out there and see what he's doing, and we'll come back and we'll do the reading. So hold on just a second. So let's pull this all together and see in this beginning of these eclipse cycles where we feel like there's a needle and a red hot poker under us, kind of pushing us, trying to instigate some of that inner fire in us, where it's leading us, and what to keep in mind in the process as we feel that itch under us to get things shifting and changing. So let's see what angel's working with us in the stones. Who's the archangel around us this week bringing us the messages? Oops, almost ran away. Oh, isn't that interesting? So it's Archangel Zadkiel. Okay, he's the angel of Gemini. All right, so we probably got a Gemini out there that needs to be listening here, tuning in. And Gemini is also ruled by Mercury. Okay, this is definitely a week where there's going to be a lot of looking to the past and thinking here, a lot of thought process and a lot of communication that's required. Feel like he's pre-warning me of being extra cautious as the Sun and Mars align, because it can be very, very tense when you got that fiery Leo Sun aligning with fiery warrior Mars. We may say things that are a little bit harsh. Okay, keep an eye out for that. I feel like he's pre-warning us on that one already. But he's the angel that helps us look into the past. He's the one that helps us analyze things correctly. He's the angel that helps us remember things correctly too as we look backwards. So planet of thought, planet of communication, Mercury, he's the angel that rules that. So he's the angel that's helping us this week better understand things, better communicate things with ourselves and others, making sure when we stand up for ourselves we say it right and with a little bit of tact, eh? What do you need to tell us? I feel like I need to do this 3 more times because he rules Gemini, which rules the 3rd house in astrology, communication and thought. Maybe one more. Yes. Yeah. Queen of Earth. Isn't that interesting? And you know, I was just saying that when we communicate this week, we got to have a little bit of tact, right? And this is the card that represents that mother energy within all of us, the one who nurtures and takes care of others. So make sure that you have a little bit of diplomacy here when we're talking with others this week, making time for those around you, making sure that you take a sensible approach, because there's going to be so much fire and so much anger out there in the skies this week, and deal with challenges in a kind and understanding manner. Okay, call on Archangel Zadkiel. He'll help you find the right words, basically. Another thing with this card, too, is that it represents those of us who give and give and give, because this is the mother card, right? They give and give and give to others, right? And they really don't get a lot in return. So I feel like that's also an underlying thing they have some focus looking at this week, too. Queen of Earth. Let's be thoughtful. Let's be creative. Let's be warm. But let's also be sensible, right? Make sure that we're looking things in the correct way and saying them in the correct way as well. So we'll call on Zadkiel for that. And see what else he's pulling with us as I pull this chakra card where a lot of that energy gets stuck. That toxic energy kind of lands in these energy centers of ours throughout our body. And as they do, they kind of block them, right? And in that process, our speech may be blocked if our throat center is blocked. Our heart center may be blocked. And we find that our love life is blocked, or our money and finances is blocked. Our root chakra is blocked, and then we find that our money flow is blocked, or our security in this lifetime. There's a lot of things that happen when negative energy gets stuck in those centers and it can't get out. So this card is kind of letting Zadkiel kind of give us a heads up on which center we need to focus on this week, because there's a lot of really interesting energy that's coming to the surface, right? These eclipses bring things out that are hidden, and in that process, it's bringing out a lot of anger this week. So let's see. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Discovery. Isn't that interesting? I immediately am drawn to the full moon in the back. We've got that coming in 2 weeks. As that full moon comes, we are also going smack dab into the lunar eclipse time. This is something I've known is going to be bringing some major shifts and changes for a lot of folks, is when these eclipses hit. August 7th, August 21st. Okay, they're telling us to keep an eye out. There's a discovery to be made in that time frame. Number one thing is the story behind this card as well, is that sometimes we get placed into situations that we don't anticipate, right? And we have to follow what our heart is telling us to do. And in the process, not only do we find ourselves greater in what our compass is and our true purpose, but it helps lead us to a better path, which ultimately helps those around us, right? Isn't that interesting? I wanted to wear this shirt and look at how this card is pretty much smack dab right on with it. I'm going to say to everybody that when we hold that intention in our hearts that we want the best and the highest good for everybody involved, we're not just focused on what's best for us, but we want things to shift for everybody around us because we have love in our heart for everybody, right? That centralized love that comes out of this heart center radiates, it echoes, and it goes, and energy can't stop. If you're coming at it with good intentions from here, it radiates outward, and you ultimately bring back what you're sending out into the universe. This week, send out love. Even though you're getting pushed hard, send out those boundaries that, yes, this is what I need to be happy, but also say, I need this because it will make my children's lives better. It will make my husband's lives better. It will make mine. It will make my coworkers. It'll make this better for more people than just myself, but especially for me, right? Balances the scales for me. And in that process, we find a lot. Telling you a lot's going to be happening in the next couple of weeks. But this week, everybody, keep that in mind. Ask for Archangel Zadkiel to help you in those times when you might find that you're having a little bit of a disagreement or miscommunication with somebody around you. No matter what comes out of here will radiate out and will ultimately come back to you. And very soon, sooner than later. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week. Thank you for watching. Bye.